It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me.
Hello, Bubba Bunch, and welcome back to another episode of the Bubba Let's Sports Podcast. It is the first episode of 2021. It is episode 201.
Oh, that's perfect, actually.
And it is the last regular season episode of Winners and Losers. It is week 17. We are headed to the playoffs, baby. It's a super wild card weekend, according to the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Six games instead of four. Six instead of four.
Did you know they're actually putting an episode, or not an episode, a game from this wild card weekend on Nickelodeon this weekend?
Oh, yeah, and they're like making it like super kidified or something like that, right? So like the kids will be entertained.
What's your favorite Nickelodeon show of all time?
SpongeBob.
That's kind of basic, man. I don't like that one.
Okay, fine. Fairly Odd Parents, probably.
Okay. I can respect that one. Jimmy Neutron's up there, right?
Dude, you know what? The one of my favorite one from the reality ones, dude, Nez Declassified, goated.
Ooh. That one's it.
That show's so good.
Look, that's up there. They should make a top 3 right now. So Nez Declassified, super underrated.
For sure, Nez Declassified. SpongeBob for me personally, and then
SpongeBob. Yeah, I mean, I kid about you going basic, but SpongeBob's goated, right?
And then I probably put Fairly Odd Parents. I used to love the Fairly Odd Parents, bro. That was so good.
So now that I'm thinking about it, so you gotta put SpongeBob and Nez Declassified, just great shows. Rocket Power, you remember Rocket Power?
I never watched it, to be honest.
Oh, dude, such a great show. I wanted to skate even though I never did, but it just gave me the feeling of it.
Yeah.
I mean, can you put like Zoe 101 in
Zoe
that?
101 was good. That was a good show. Yeah, I liked it. But I wouldn't put it top 3 personally. I would not put it top 3.
Are you ready?
Like, I'd put Danny Phantom up there. Danny Phantom's really good.
We can do a whole podcast on like shows that I remember I did this with one of my friends at Waffle House like midnight. We were just thinking of like old shows that we used to watch. And then I was like, bro, you remember Mucha Lucha on Cartoon Network? He's like, what the hell is that? And I was like, please. It's only for the cultured.
Dude.
Mucha Lucha? Anybody?
I honestly did not see Mucha Lucha.
Oh,
honestly.
dude. If I showed you a picture, you would know. It's because you don't remember the show. You just remember the characters.
Oh, okay. It's one of those shows.
Yeah, man.
Man.
Hey, we're trying to get Nickelodeon on here, okay? But, so, winners and losers. We all know the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Winners, as the shirt would say.
Oh.
They get a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Losers.
As per usual, as they say.
Per usual. Losers, which we're going to go in on one of these losers.
We're going to go. The winners are going to go by quick this week.
Yeah, they are. Losers. And honorable mention of the week, you really like yours. I hate mine, but I have to say it. They get LeBron.
I want my damn respect, too.
They will get respect.
Yes.
And, of course, we end it on one final thing, which we just started doing on this podcast, but I enjoy it. So let's get it started with the first winner of the week for you, Kevin Boppy.
Oh, I like this intro. Hey, so there's this man. We'll call him a man because he's not, but whatever. There's this man that decided to be 6'6", 250 pounds, and just decided to destroy everyone in the NFL. This man woke up and chose violence every single Sunday this last season.
He woke up feeling dangerous.
I read a stat. Okay, check this out. I read a stat.
Did we both read the same stat? Because I think I know where you're going with this.
Maybe. If Derrick Henry were to be taken out of every single game at halftime or something like that, or what was the stat?
Oh, then mine's different.
Okay, no. I read a stat where it was like, if Derrick Henry were to be taken out of every single game at halftime, he would still be 4th in rushing in the NFL. That is ridiculous, dude.
Okay, so we both have the
It's
same winner
insane.
because it's the obvious one, right? It's the obvious
It's
one.
Derrick Henry, bro. Derrick Henry.
How about this stat for you? Because this one blew my fucking mind and made me laugh out loud. If he had just played the 6 divisional games in the AFC South, he just played the Jaguars, he just played the Houston Texans, and the Colts.
I mean
the
the Texans, yeah.
If he had just played those 6 games, so he's missing the rest of the 10 around the league. If he just played those 6 games, because he's number 1 in rushing, if you take out all of those games except for those 6, he would still be 10th in rushing because he got half of his yards this season from divisional games.
Yeah, I saw that. He had like almost 575 rushing yards just against the Texans.
Oh my God. Well, you got 250 of those this weekend.
Yeah.
Look, he ends the regular season with 2,027 rushing yards.
That is so insane. How?
The 8th time that's ever happened in NFL history. The last time anybody ever did that was Adrian Peterson in 2012, where he won the MVP. Guy just came back from torn ACL. He absolutely dominated the league. Yet we're in a era of where running backs just don't get the credit, and quarterbacks are always going to get the awards.
Yeah.
So it's very unlikely he gets MVP because Aaron Rodgers is just daddy.
Yeah.
And so with 2,027 rushing yards, 8th time that's ever happened in the league, I saw an NFL insider on Instagram put up his top 3 of every category for awards. So MVP was Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Ryan Tannehill. I forgot the third one, but I'm just going to throw in Ryan Tannehill. And then Offensive Player of the Year comes up, and I'm like, it's gotta be Derrick Henry, right? Number 1, Travis Kelce. I'm like,
he makes a good point.
no, he does not. Because if you're gonna put a receiver, I get the added asterisk of he's a tight end, so it should count more because it usually never happens.
He also broke the NFL record as well.
Okay, get that. But he doesn't lead the league in receiving yards. So, I mean, you can't really go for Travis Kelce. It's just, you can make an argument to say otherwise. I feel like the strong argument for that.
Okay.
Number 2 was Stephon Diggs. And I'm like, okay, that makes more sense, but why do you have Stephon Diggs behind Travis Kelce?
Okay.
Number 3 was Derrick Henry. And I was like, how do you have a job? Because we've only seen this 8 times in NFL history. There is 100 years of NFL football, and we've only seen this happen 8 times. If they would have gone to overtime, right? If this Texans versus Titans game would have gone to overtime, which should have happened, if it wasn't for the Texans secondary just letting AJ Brown go for a post route, they would have gone to overtime and not kick a field goal. He would have gone over 300 yards, in my opinion.
How many times? I don't even know. I don't know, but
he carried the ball 34 times in this game. If they went to overtime, which is an added 15 minutes.
10
minutes. Sorry.
Yeah.
You don't think that he's going to get the ball 6 more times?
For 50 yards
For
at least?
50 yards? With that terrible defense that is like one of the worst in the NFL at stopping the run?
Yeah.
So then if that's the case, he would have broken another record for being the first running back to ever get 300 yards in a game, which is like 296 with, who is it? I think it's Adrian Peterson. It might be Adrian Peterson because I think it's from that season in 2012. But like, how can we argue that Derrick Henry is not the Offensive Player of the Year?
I mean, look, man, I agree with you in all retrospect that a quarterback's always going to win. It is what it is. But in general, dude, it's because, I think because of the way he did it, the stats are just so mind-blowing. He literally got 1,000 yards off of just 6 games. That is insane. who has ever had that? Besides maybe AP, But and the thing that I love about Derrick Henry too is that he runs with just a sheer force of dominance and like willpower.
He's trying to kill you.
Like you see him running, and then you see the poor soul that's trying to tell him, like, oh, this guy is probably gonna feel that for the next 4 days.
Bro, he should go to jail for the stiff arms he put up this season.
Not against Josh Norman. He deserves it.
Oh, Josh Norman deserves it.
Yeah.
But still, like that's assault with a deadly weapon. And that weapon is his body.
Dude, like, we would always joke around that, like Saquon Barkley and his quads, AJ Dillon and his quads and all that, right? But no, this guy is a weapon. Like his whole body, his whole person is a weapon. Just imagine, like I said in the beginning, just imagine a 6'6", 250-pound monster man running at you at almost like 19 miles an hour. Please try and stop him. No way.
The worst part is it's coming.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the Titans' game plan. They're going to run the ball.
And you can't do a single thing about it.
Can't do it. Can't do anything about it. Derrick Henry, man.
What a man. This guy deserves like 3 bubblies because I don't think he can get drunk off one.
Week 17, and I feel like him going for 250 yards is kind of like an afterthought to people.
It's kind of like, oh, he did it again? Cool, I guess.
This is like his third 200-yard game.
His fourth.
Fourth? Oh,
yeah.
Shit. All right, Derrick Henry, don't kill me. Here's some bubbly.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Dear God, man.
He is something else, man. He's something else.
I had, just real quick, I had a guy that I worked with a year ago at Best Buy. Hated the guy, by the way. He's a terrible human being. But we would always argue about sports, and I felt like he was always wrong. Ego thing. I have a podcast, so obviously I know more. It's obvious. But he would always make the argument that Derrick Henry's a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott. And I'm like, there's no way. I just feel like Ezekiel Elliott is just a more prototype back. Mm-hmm. I will say it, on January 6th of 2021, I was completely wrong. Like, Derrick Henry is a monster, and Ezekiel Elliott can barely get 100 yards.
I used to make the argument back a couple of years ago with one of my friends because he's a Saints fan, and we'd always have the argument: who is a better running back, Alvin Kamara or Zeke?
Well, that's just a different. It's
a different tier, but at least for this season, it's Alvin by far.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, when you get more touchdowns in one game in literally 2.5 hours more than Ezekiel Elliott has the entire season, I don't think there's an argument there.
Yeah, there's no argument. But
that was both of our first winners, and I felt like I talked a lot about Derrick Henry, and yeah, I could kiss him. Go ahead, sir, for your second winner.
Well, let's see my second one. Oh, my second one. This is gonna be quick, just because there's not really much to talk about it. But congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams for making it into the playoffs without Jared Goff. I mean, it's not that big. That's why I'm saying it's. I'm gonna be quick on this, but to go into a game with your backup quarterback that has never once taken a snap in the NFL. He did not play lights out. We all know that. But, just to hold down the fort enough to be able to win the game and get yourself in a position like, all right, we're in the playoffs now. The season's the past. Let's look forward. You got a great defense. Maybe Jared Goff decides to turn on the switch because Lord knows he hasn't this season. But, you never know. Jared Goff has those games where he's like, all right, I'm going to try this time. I'm going to try.
I mean, it's going to be a little harder with a broken thumb.
Well, yeah, but still, it still is Jared Goff. Cooper Kupp is back off the COVID list.
Off the COVID list as of today.
The COVID list as today. Cooper Kupp's back. He has his safety blanket on third down. Robert Woods is still a beast. I think Darrell Henderson is on IR, so unfortunately they won't have him. But Cam Akers does have the possibility of coming back. They got Malcolm Brown. Things are looking up. So,
and you have the matchup against the Seahawks.
Exactly.
So
and
it's the third time you see them this season.
Yes, and you've played them fairly well, the 2 times you played against them. So, yeah, congratulations to the LA Rams. Even with the backup quarterback, John Wolford, was that his name? John Wolford. Yeah, John Wolford. Good job, man. Get some bubbly.
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Big John is listed at 6'1", and this is the only thing I'm going to talk about the Rams. When you look at the film and you watch the game, how the hell is that guy 6'1"?
I don't know.
I want you to look up a picture of him right now, like on the field, and I want you to tell me if he's 6'1".
He, when I was watching like the little like in-game like coverages they were doing, this man does not look taller than both of us.
No.
On the field. No. On the field, he does not. And it's crazy.
He looks smaller than Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
I don't understand it. And the one thing I'll say about them making the playoffs, and I'm 99% sure it's against the Seahawks. The Seahawks defense has been playing better as of late, but
yes.
If I'm going into a playoff game to where I've relied on Jared Goff to be my guy, and when he's not my guy, we lose football games, I don't think I have the security and the confidence to say John Wolford at 5'4", in my eyes, is gonna intimidate anybody on the opposing end. Like you send a safety blitz with Jamal Adams, I think the game's over.
Yeah, I think this game is really going to depend on how Jared Goff is playing completely.
If he plays, because we don't know yet. Like they don't want to put it out yet. Sean McVay's like kind of putting it on the back burner or just keeping it on the down low. But he knows that Jared Goff, if he's good to go, he will go. And he won't take the risk of like sitting Jared Goff to save his career or whatever. This is the time to do it. And even with Jared Goff in there, you're relying on him. And that's, I mean,
that's a little scary in itself.
Yeah, like you have to worry about the confidence you have in John Wolford. Well, what about the confidence of Jared Goff that you've been just completely against all season long?
Yeah.
So,
well, either way, at least for this week, week 17, congratulations, LA Rams, for making the playoffs. John Wolford.
You beat Kyler Murray, or you beat the Arizona Cardinals without Kyler Murray. Congratulations.
I'll get to them later. I'll get to them later.
I don't think that's fair. That's back-to-back weeks we have the Cardinals on there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
So with that said, I'll take over while you look at something else.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna get to them. I forgot that I changed. Never mind.
Well, then you just wasted 30 seconds of this podcast. Thank you, sir.
Well, then you can edit it out. How about that?
I'm not gonna edit this out. I won't remember. Number 2 on winners this week is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, who are alongside the Buffalo Bills, probably the hottest team in football right now.
Okay, so we're merging on this one. Go for it.
Damn, this is really bad. But honestly, like my worries about how they're not going to be a title contender this season has really taken a toll on that argument these last 5 weeks. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They're beating some quality teams, but the way that they're doing it, that's what I'm impressed by.
They're looking extremely hot. And Lamar, like that midseason slump he had, no more. Well, Lamar is looking crispy.
I think you can even take it to the beginning of the season of like, yes, we know that Lamar can use his feet and he's going to make plays like that. But ultimately what comes down to them being a title contender is the passing game. They are the best rushing team in the NFL, hands down. There's no argument for that. They are one of the worst teams in the NFL at passing. They have Mark Andrews, they have Hollywood Brown, they brought Dez Bryant, and I honestly love the move to get Dez Bryant on the active roster. But even then, it took a couple weeks for me to be like, let's get it going. Let's make some deep throws. Let's be aggressive in the passing game. I don't want to make Lamar Jackson a passing or pocket passer. That's the mistake that a lot of these teams do, and I feel like that's what's kind of altered Kyler Murray in his game is that they're trying to make him more of a passing pocket quarterback. But what makes Lamar Jackson great is that he is going to break down in the pocket. He's going to use his legs, and if he can make a throw, he can. It's just he's never really comfortable in that aspect, whether it's in the pocket or outside the pocket. But what I'm seeing in this 5-game winning streak is him making some quality throws. I mean, the ones he was making this week against Cincinnati, who has been playing better as of late. Man, like some of those throws, I was like, they're dimes down the field. And he just feels so comfortable doing it.
So speaking on the passing specifically, I read something the other day that I could not agree more with 100%. So you mentioned the fact that Baltimore has an insane rushing game, obviously, and they're going to use it to full effect, as they should. Now, it just so happens that the Baltimore Ravens are playing the Tennessee Titans, the one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. They are absolutely horrific in the secondary. So now we know that the Ravens are not big ballers. They're not going to throw. They're not going to run 3 straight plays and then throw a 60-yard bomb down the field. That's not who they are. However, this article that I read stated this: the Baltimore Ravens need to absolutely take advantage of the middle of the field, 100%. And I thought about it, and I was like, okay, what do they mean by that exactly? There's a difference, like I said, in that game with the Packers and the Titans. Aaron Rodgers, just, my lord. I mean, he was just dotting everything up 20 yards down the field, right? That's not who the Ravens are. They don't airmail the ball 30, 40 yards every other play. However, like you said earlier, they got Hollywood, they got Mark Andrews. Arguably, Mark Andrews could be considered amongst the group of some of the best tight end hands in the NFL.
Yeah.
Are we agreeing there?
It's very similar to what Green Bay has in Robert Tunyon.
Exactly.
That he is a threat in the red zone, but if you send him in the middle of the field, like think about that game against Green Bay with the Titans. Is a lot of those
it was a lot of RPO. Green Bay loves the RPO all the time.
I can think of a few plays to where Marquez Valdes-Scantling just went on a go route where he lined up in the slot, and he even did it a lot this week against Chicago, is that he was lined up in the slot, sent a go route in the middle of the field, and Aaron Rodgers just floated it in.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it felt like there was no threat from the secondary.
Exactly.
So Mark Andrews can do that very well.
100%. Mark Andrews. And also, Hollywood Brown has not had the best of seasons. However, you cannot sit there and say, oh, yeah, Hollywood Brown, whatever. No. Hollywood Brown is still a threat no matter what because he has that game-breaking speed. So if Baltimore is able to take control of the middle of the field, do these little 8 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards passing plays, that's a first down. Who cares if they're dinks and dunks? That's a first down. That's going to get you the dub. So if you're able to take advantage of that horrific Titans defense with these little passes of 10 to 12 yards while also rushing the ball down their throats, hey man, that's a dub. They're moving on. Yeah. Why does it matter how it looks like on the game plan? As long as you're getting the W in the playoffs, that's all that matters.
The one thing, because that's a very good point, I looked at this matchup with the Tennessee Titans for the wild card weekend. I looked at it from a different perspective of like last season. Remember how hot Tennessee went into the playoffs?
Yeah.
And they just destroy the Patriots. I mean, they looked really solid against them. And then they had to play Baltimore, who was undoubtedly the favorites in the AFC. But we knew what the Baltimore Ravens were, and we knew how they were going to win football games. But it was the Tennessee Titans that came in stupid hot, and no one really expected them to be that good going into that late part of the season. So now we go into this season where we know the Tennessee Titans are good because of Derrick Henry and their offense. We still worry about their defense. But I feel like not many analysts and insiders are talking about how good Baltimore is going into the playoffs. Because they've fixed a lot of things that they did wrong in the early parts and middle parts of the season with their defense not being dominant. Like they weren't being the defense that we all thought they were after Calais Campbell got there and Yannick Ngakoue. But we all knew that it's like Lamar Jackson's going to win them football games.
Yeah.
So I'm like saying now that Lamar Jackson is actually confident in his arm and he's making really critical throws, this is a very dangerous football team that no one's really talking about. The only thing I want from Lamar Jackson in this postseason, whether it's against Tennessee or against Buffalo or the Chiefs, whoever they go against, that's your time. Like my thing about Lamar Jackson is that you don't show up against the best teams. You look frustrated, you look weak, and you can't make the throws downfield. Well, start here. It's not the best defense in the world, but get through this, and then that's when you really got to prove yourself. If the Baltimore Ravens are legit, you do it against Buffalo, you do it against Kansas City.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about Baltimore before we give them their bubbly. I feel like Baltimore and Chicago have the same edge. They had that midseason slump. Obviously, Chicago's was way worse, but still, they had that midseason slump, and they started getting hot and hot and hot and hot. Why? Because their quarterback play picked up dramatically.
Yeah, way more consistent.
Way more consistent. And hey, consistency gets you dubs in the NFL. That's all that matters. So in this case, Baltimore, continue your rushing game. Take advantage of the middle field because the Titans are so bad. Make sure your defense plays up to par. I know you have to tackle a 6'6", 250-pound monster. I'm sorry, but at least play like the Packers. Bend, don't break. If you bend a little bit, don't break. They're gonna win this game.
Well, when you're giving up 250 yards on the ground, when you're the Texans and you barely lost by 3, I think that makes Baltimore feel good because they don't need to stop Derrick Henry.
No,
they just need to stay in it.
Yeah,
so Baltimore, a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
All right, sir, your last winner.
Remember I merged, so you go.
Wait, so are you already at 3? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so my last winner, and I have a few that are going to be like, well, that's doesn't make really that much sense, but to me, even with a 56-26 loss to the Buffalo Bills, I think Miami is in a very good spot for the future.
Okay, for the future, yes. My argument's different. Go for it.
Now, Buffalo is the hottest team in the NFL. So the fact that you just got absolutely trounced by them doesn't shock me. Now, yes, the elephant in the room is Tua not the guy. I thought that if his NFL career wasn't going to work out, it was because of his injuries. He had too many injuries. He was too banged up. For him to come out of Alabama as one of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks that we've ever seen, and I never doubted his athletic abilities or his skill set. I wish he wouldn't have been the starter so soon, but in those first couple of starts where it's like he doesn't need to do much, that's fine. The whole team can be a complete unit and win football games. They just all have to do their part. Well, that's only going to work for a certain amount of time before you need your quarterback to step up in certain situations, including against one of the hottest offenses in football.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's too early to panic, and I don't think you should do the eject button because Tua never really had an offseason to train. He was never given a training camp to be the number one starter. This offense is still developing on that offensive line, and next year we'll have more of an idea of what their wide receivers and their weapons will look like. But for right now, let's not think about Tua. Let's just think about all of it in general. Let's think about how they're pretty good on cap space this year. Like, they're not the best, they're not the worst. They paid a lot of their guys last season. Byron Jones, they got a bunch of free agents. And we're going to be fine in the money aspect for now. Eventually, we'll get to it, but for now, we're good.
For sure.
And then you have Brian Flores, who is, since they didn't make the playoffs, unfortunately, even at 10-6, I think is one of the coaches of the year. If they would have made the playoffs, he would have won. I don't think so anymore. But he is a player's coach. I mean, he almost fought the Cincinnati Bengals when they played each other. Like, he was willing to fight for his guys. So I think that's a guy you want to get behind. And thanks to Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans, sir, you get the 3rd overall pick, which is ridiculous for a team that has a great future in Miami. So you can either go with the big boy up front in Penei Sewell, or let's get a little freaky here, Devontae Smith, the new Heisman winner in college football. Why not, right? Why not?
We made this discussion and this prediction a week ago, and it makes sense. It makes so much sense.
It does. It really does, because they're needing a wide receiver, and the Allen Robinson talk has been widespread. But if you want to save yourself some money, you go Devontae Smith. or Jamar Chase. There is one more possibility that the Miami Dolphins could possibly look into.
Okay.
If they want to go just freaky with the draft.
Oh, God.
Let's just say Tua just ain't the guy. And Brian Flores just makes a quick decision of, nah, let's not go for it.
Oh, wow. You're ballsy on this one, huh?
This depends on what the Jets do at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not ready to go into like Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, or Zach Wilson. And I've had my doubts about Justin Fields, but he did show up against Clemson. I don't know, but if you want to take it, if the Jets want to pass on Justin Fields at number 2 and they want to go Penei Sewell and they want to keep Sam Darnold,
which they should.
Well, in my opinion, they should. Get Justin at 3. And you don't have to worry about Ryan because, I mean, it's just a temporary fix. Tua, you can trade him because he's still worthy of like a high draft pick, number or second round, third round, whatever, and maybe some money, maybe some cap space. You just trade him, give him to like Chicago or even Carolina, someone like that. And you go with Justin for the future.
That's risky.
10-6 was a win in my book. I know that you wanted to shoot for the playoffs because they were a playoff contention team. But, of course, you face Buffalo in Week 17 and you need a win. That's not going to help you. But 10-6, I'm feeling really good about the Dolphins, who could definitely compete in that division and definitely compete in a wild card spot next year. And they're only going to get better. Feeling good. Feeling really good.
The future is bright and full of bubbly. Is basically what you're saying.
Love it.
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, so real quick, so we can get on to the losers. My mention. What? I'm sorry. What is it?
Honorable mention?
Honorable mention. There we go. Yes, honorable mention of the week. Congratulations, Devonta Smith. The Slim Reaper, as he is known.
That boy got some chicken legs.
The first wide receiver since 1991 to win the Heisman Trophy and possibly a top 10 pick.
Who was the last receiver to win the Heisman?
I don't know.
1991.
I don't know.
Michael Irvin? No, he was already in the league by then, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm going to need to look this up. Continue, sir. I'll look it up.
Yeah, all I'm saying is congratulations, because like we were saying earlier, in a league and in a time where football is just dominated by quarterbacks, good job, man. Good job. The Slim Reaper, as he is called. Love it. Love the fact that he deserves massive respect for this.
Oh, how could I forget? Desmond Howard from Michigan. The Heisman pose.
Oh, that's
the
right.
Heisman pose. My
right.
uncultured ass forgot about the Heisman pose. Look, I'm an Ohio State fan. We don't remember that stuff. Wow, man. There's been some really great receivers that have had phenomenal performances in college, but since Desmond Howard,
dude, that's crazy, huh? It's crazy.
Well deserved. Now it could have changed if Trevor Lawrence would have played in those 2 games that he was out.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have won. But I think out of all 4 of those guys, Mac Jones and Kyle Trask were good, but they're not great. But to think that we just came off a season where Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy,
yeah,
I mean,
and now you got
we think that these guys are better, like him and Waddle.
Jamar Chase coming in as well.
Like, dude, I think the sophomore years of a lot of these guys that are rookie wide receivers this year are going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, now you add on Waddle, you add on Chase, you add on Smith. Oh, dear God. I truly believe that Smith can be a Calvin Ridley. Like, that's where I see his future going. If he can be a Calvin Ridley, I think he'll have a tremendous career in the NFL because I think Calvin Ridley's underrated.
It's exciting, man. It's exciting. Devonta Smith, you have my respect for this one, man. Good job. Congratulations. Go get some bubbly. Hey, throw in a little bit of bubbly from me. Come on. Come on.
Oh, some bubbly. Oh.
Oh,
Throw a little bubble.
a little bit of the bubbly.
Okay. Well, first of all, you need to put some food in him before you drink some bubbly because I guarantee you he gets drunk off of one White Claw.
Oh, stop.
We need to put some meat on that bone, bro. Like, buddy, come on.
Listen.
He is skinny.
Listen, when the Atlanta Falcons pick him 4th overall, they'll get him.
Stop. Oh my God! If Calvin Ridley and Devontae Smith are on the same team, I might just throw up.
Oh, you didn't get my hint, did you?
No.
I'm saying Julio's gone, brother.
Oh,
They're trading
I'm all
him.
for that.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
trading him.
I think Julio is just a insurance policy gone wrong.
I would like him to leave just because maybe he'll get a better chance somewhere, and hopefully that revives his. Well, I wouldn't say revive because he's still amazing, but you know what I mean.
Hey, I hear New England needs somebody.
Well, New England always needs somebody at that position.
Hey. In Bill we trust.
Not this season.
Oh God. Imagine Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh?
Wow. Russell Gage too. Hayden Hurst.
Ooh. That's
It might not be that bad in Atlanta. I mean, you need everything else, but
Look up this podcast, April 22nd, 2021.
April
You'll see.
22nd,
You'll see.
2021. I probably won't remember that, so it's all on you. Honorable mention for me this week is it's a sad one because this man single-handedly lost me my fantasy football championship.
Alexander Madison.
Alexander Madison.
Yeah.
Edward, if you're watching this, my guy, the fact that I lost, not because you had Patrick Mahomes, not because you had Terry McLaurin, or that you had the Steelers defense. It was because you had Alexander Madison and Antonio Brown in your fantasy league. If I would have put in Chase Claypool instead of Corey Davis, I would have been down by 4. If I would have gone with the guy that I went with the entire season in Jerry Jeudy, I had him all the way up until the playoffs, and then I got rid of him because I was like, look, Drew Lock is not going to throw to him. Apparently he did. If I would have done those small things and not let Alexander Madison go for 36 points in fantasy, the 1 week he's the running back for the Minnesota Vikings, and he doesn't drop 21 rushes for 95 yards and a touchdown with 3 receptions for 50 yards and 1 touchdown, I may have won that fantasy league, which I needed to win. For my ego, for my self-esteem, being the sports guy in our group. I like to declare my retirement from fantasy football because of Alexander Madison.
Oh, stop.
It's over. I'm not doing it anymore.
If anybody should retire, it's me. I lost only because of Alvin Kamara. Only because of Alvin Kamara.
Well, I wouldn't have won without Alvin Kamara and get to the championship, so that's fair.
What a joke.
But would you rather not make the playoffs and just be like not the worst guy with the worst team, but not make the playoffs? Or would you want to go to the championship 2 out of 3 years and then lose both of them? And then the other year you go into the semifinal and lose by a point because of the evaluation after. They gave Ezekiel Elliott an extra point when they should have just kept it the same. And that's because I lost. And in both of those teams' championship game, I scored more points than them.
You are the embodiment of the New Orleans Saints in fantasy. How
Yeah.
unlucky you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get the call.
Yeah.
I'm retired from fantasy football.
No,
Thanks a
you're
lot, Alexander Madison.
Shut
You know what? You don't even get LeBron.
No, you're not. Shut up.
I'm retired. I'm not playing anymore.
All right, man. Sure.
I'm not
for
playing.
sure.
I'm not playing.
That's what they all say. All right. This is the losers. Oh, we're going to have some fun with these. First of all, this one isn't that bad. I'll make it quick. We just talked about the most unluckiest team in the NFL, the New Orleans Saints. You can make the argument they are the most unluckiest team I've ever seen in my life. Poor guys.
Are they?
They could have won the Super Bowl against New England that season, in my opinion. The Minneapolis Miracle was just
that was tough.
unlucky. And just last year, a no-call pass interference again. Come on. But
It's
no,
either that or the Falcons, but I think the Falcons just do it to themselves. So
no,
okay, yeah.
no, Falcons are horrible.
For the lack of the argument, yeah, I'll go the Saints.
But I think this takes the cake, maybe at least for this season. You break an 18-year curse. You break an 18-year curse, drought, whatever you want to say, of no playoffs as the Cleveland Browns. You finally get into the playoffs. And your first game, you don't have your head coach.
Oh wow!
You have 7 players, some of them pretty damn important, on the COVID list. Your facilities are down. You can't practice. Oh my!
I'm actually shocked that we went with the same loser here.
Oh my God!
Wow!
How more unlucky could you possibly get as the Cleveland Browns? How more unlucky, dude?
Yeah, I thought it was
Dude.
bad when they go against the Jets without wide receivers.
No, dude, this is worse.
This
you don't
is
have
worse.
you don't have your head coach, and you have 7 to 8 players on the COVID list. Oh my God! At least they're getting like Jarvis Landry and Joel Bitonio back and all that, right? But, dude,
Isn't Joe Bitonio like the highest graded pass
Yes.
protection
Yes,
offensive
he is.
lineman in football?
Yes, he is.
Man, that's great.
Dude, when I saw that this morning, I was in shock. I could not believe how unlucky that is. Dude, if it were any other team, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have been like, oh, okay, well, you know what? It sucks. They're in the playoffs. You know, it sucks. But it had to happen to the Browns. Out of any team, the Browns.
Yeah.
Damn, that sucks, dude. That sucks so bad. So bad.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I can add on to that is like that was going to be one of my surprises of like, oh, why are the Browns like a loser? Like they're in the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. They're playing really good football. I was like, well, you barely beat the Steelers who had no TJ Watt, no Joe Hayden, no Big Ben.
Yeah.
You almost lost to Mason Rudolph, and I don't think Cleveland likes that guy. But you barely beat the backups by like 2 points. And then you get hit by COVID. And you don't have the one thing that has truly made you a contender in the AFC, which is Kevin Stefanski.
Oh my God, dude. How?
The timing couldn't be worse because it was literally Monday morning where they're like, 2 coaches, including Kevin Stefanski, have COVID. The game is on Saturday.
Yeah. I think if it would have been on Sunday, there still would have been a chance. Still would have been a chance.
That you're really
It's
pushing it because
yeah.
you got to go for like 2 or 3 negative tests in a row
Yeah.
if you want to coach or you want to play. I was really going into this like spoiler alert because we're gonna do a prediction or a preview for the playoffs later in the week, but I thought the Cleveland Browns were going to upset the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really believed in it.
Oh, same. I thought so as well. I really thought they were going to beat the Steelers, but now with this,
There's no way.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Unless you bring back Freddie Kitchens. Thoughts? Maybe? One more time. One more time for the road.
Dude, you know, I don't, you know, there's been a lot of losers that we've said that personify the sound that Stephen A. Smith is about to make. But this sound for the Cleveland Browns, I think, is magnified by the amount of Cleveland Brown fans there are in the league and in the United States. Wow. Take it away. I'm mind blown. Mind blown.
It has to be Cleveland, right?
It has to be Cleveland. Like I said, if it were any other team, it wouldn't have mattered. Oh yeah, it sucks. But the fact that it's Cleveland. Damn. Oh well, sir, take it away.
This is a tough pill to swallow because I was all for this guy getting his opportunity to be the starting quarterback. And now, when you look at the stats, they're not all that bad. So if they do end up going with this guy next year with a full training camp, full off season, I would be like, okay, you're missing a lot of your pieces and you're a very young football team. So maybe he'll get a second chance. But I guess you can say second loser because Cleveland was a part of that. My second loser is Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is losing his job in Carolina. Now, when you look at the whole stats, not like this week, it was 176 for 2 interceptions and a passer rating of 44.8. Now, PJ Walker had himself a 20 passer rating this week against the New Orleans Saints. It's one of the best defenses in football, but it's been a rough year for Carolina. I think that one of the only points I will ever agree with Jonathan Vilma, by the way, who is one of the worst commentators I've ever heard. I could do a better job, and he played in the NFL. Jonathan Vilma said they play hard. In Carolina, they play hard. They try their best. And I'm like, I 100% agree, because there's sometimes where I'm like, dear God, this team is horrible. They need a few years. And then there's some games where I'm like, at least they stayed competitive. And that's all you could ask for. They were like 5-11. I think Matt Rule's done a good job. Joe Brady, who I adore for what he did at LSU with Joe Burrow. Joe Brady is a mastermind, and I really think he can be an offensive coordinator for a team next year, whether that's Carolina or another team. And I'm kind of shocked that Teddy Bridgewater, who's had good years with Minnesota and a great stint with the New Orleans Saints last year, finally got his opportunity to be a starting quarterback in Carolina. You hate to see it because you lose Christian McCaffrey, and your defense can't stop anybody worth a damn. And you're a young football team with a young coach. Like, it's a growing atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So with 15 touchdowns, 11 interceptions this year for the season, a 69% completion percentage, which is not bad at all, and a 92 overall passer rating this season, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes both ways. If they keep him and they make him the starter next year, he'll have Christian McCaffrey. He'll make a lot of easier throws that make him feel more comfortable at quarterback. That'd be fine. I don't think it makes them any better of a football team. Like, they won't be a playoff contender, but I think they'll progress through the season. If they want to get rid of him and either go with PJ Walker or, hell, call up John Gruden and say, Derek Carr, what do you want for him? Because I know you would want to get rid of him, probably. I think you want to move on from Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And then you get him, maybe a Cam Newton reunion, who knows, because he's not going to stay in New England next year. It's kind of left Teddy Bridgewater after 6 years in the NFL, and a lot of that is because of injury that he didn't get to play. But a lot of teams are going to look at him and be like, you're good, but you're not great. And you'd be a good backup, but I don't know if you would be a starter. I hate it because I believed in Teddy Bridgewater. I thought the situation was going to be a lot better than it is after 2020. But you kind of feel for the guy for having that bad of an experience in the NFL with his injury that almost kept him out of football forever. He almost lost his leg.
Yeah.
And to go from that to finally get his opportunity and playing at the same level as PJ Walker, who had 3 interceptions in this game, it's hard to see. And no matter what happens for Teddy, I was wrong. Like, I was really wrong about Teddy Bridgewater because I thought he was going to be top 15 quarterback in the NFL. But now he might not have a job. So he has 2 more years left in his contract. Either they keep him or they trade him. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That whole situation, I feel like everybody knew that whole situation was going to be rough because everybody knew that this year was going to be a test year for Teddy Bridgewater. It sucks. I feel like maybe this year they could show a little bit more, but in general, yeah, I understand your point. I understand your argument.
Yeah. So it's tough, but Stephen A, for the pain that I hold.
The pain.
Pain. All right. Second loser
Well,
for you.
Second loser. I'll make this one quick because I want to get into this third one.
Yeah.
You know, I've always, to a certain extent, I've never really liked the way how the playoffs were formatted in the NFL. I think that they should be reformatted. I know it won't happen, but, you know, it is what it is. And this is what I meant earlier that I said that I'll get to them in a different argument. I think the Miami Dolphins should be in the playoffs. I think they should be in the playoffs. It sucks that literally your season came down to win and in against the hottest team in the NFL. That sucks. That's just very unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's just very unfortunate. But I really do feel like the Dolphins would have been a pretty good team to play against in the AFC. It sucks. It is what it is. However, I will say another thing. So, my first point of this argument is, they're unfortunately a loser because I feel like they could have made the playoffs and they could have been a good team. My other point in this, I guess this will be more of like a season view point of this argument. I really think they mishandled Tua Tagovailoa. I agree with you that he shouldn't have started right away. People make the argument that, he started in week 5 or whatever, right? The way how he got that job was undeserved, in my opinion. I think it was highway robbery, what they did to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing great, and they took the job from him in a completely unnecessary fashion. I don't think it should have happened the way it did. Now, I've made the argument, and I've defended Tua by saying that he held down the fort. He was doing okay, and that's fine. But you really saw how much he struggled these last couple games. And that's all within time. He will get better. I mean, he's extremely talented. We both know that. We both have said that here on this podcast. But in respect to this argument, I don't feel like it was his time yet. I don't. Now, you can also make the argument, would Miami would have been as competitive with Ryan as they were with Tua? I think they would have been more competitive personally. Ryan Fitzpatrick always has a way to just get things done, no matter how it is. I like the term Fitzmagic because it's cool, right? Oh, Fitzmagic, it's cool. No, in reality, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a good quarterback. I feel like the way the Miami Dolphins were set up this season, if they would have kept Ryan in, they probably would have won a couple more games. You can use the game against the Raiders where Tua was just not having it that game. It just was not his game. You bring in Ryan and he just pieces up the Raiders' first drive, something that Tua just couldn't do. So I'm not saying that Tua is a bust. I'm not saying that Tua is going to fail in the NFL. I'm just saying that, one, it was mishandled. He shouldn't have gotten the job right away. And 2, I feel like to a certain extent, and I love Brian Flores. I love him. We both love him on this podcast. I think we both think that he's doing a great job. But I think that Brian Flores, to a certain extent, did Tua a misservice. Is that the correct term?
Disservice.
Disservice. There you go. Disservice. A disservice of giving him the job when it just wasn't ready for his time. So yeah, I think the Dolphins are losers in a retrospect of they should be in the playoffs because they are a competitive team, but they're also a loser because I think they mishandled the whole situation, in my opinion.
Well, at least they were consistent about it. Like, the reason why Tua went in the first place was because Ryan was struggling. Like,
no, not right away. Remember that he was kind of balling out leading up to Tua.
Yeah, but not every game.
Well, no, not every game.
You're forgetting that Ryan has he
has a track record.
He's a track record of, like, he's a gunslinger, and he is going to take chances. Not every time that those chances are going to work out in his favor. Like he had some games where he throws 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions. It's going to happen. And that's where I can see why they made the decision of saying, well, Tua, let's just see what you got. Let's just go out there. And then mid-game, it's like to just do the transitional thing. They did it in the last few weeks of the season. They did that with Tua being the starter and then Ryan going in and finishing the job. So there is that possibility if they just do a 2-quarterback set next year, kind of like how Texas Tech does it and a lot of college football teams do it, of like, let's just put 2 out there and then they won't know what we're doing. But to say that Ryan Fitzpatrick was completely out of line to be benched, like, I don't think benching would have worked out because I wanted Tua to learn on the sideline. But to say that it was just a absolute disgrace to Ryan Fitzpatrick for not playing well, or for him to be playing well and then get kicked out. Like, no, like he plays bad sometimes, but that's just who Ryan Fitzpatrick is.
But that early stretch of games before he got benched, he was doing good enough to win them games. And that's my point.
Well, when we look back at it, they lost that first week against the Patriots, and the Patriots were nowhere near the level of what Miami is this year. So they should have won that football game. They should have won that football game, but Ryan Fitzpatrick was the starter for that game, and they did not win. It took them a little bit to get it going, and they had a really good stride, and that involved both Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua Tagovailoa.
It just, to me, it seemed like a lot of these games, Tua was just, I wouldn't say that he looked unprepared, because Brian Flores is always going to bring out his players prepared. I just feel like he felt uncomfortable in a lot of these games. And I feel like a lot of it could have been avoided if he would have just learned a little bit more, at least a little bit more. So
I will agree with you on that, because I feel like what we learned, what's the bad about Tua, is that he doesn't like to take chances. And maybe it's because the coaching staff told him to not take those chances and just do your job, or he just didn't feel comfortable doing it. But there were some slant routes to where they're basic NFL passes. They're basic football passes. And he threw 5 yards over the guy's head. Like, that's not a progression thing of like, oh, he just needs to get his feet wet in the NFL. No, you make that throw in middle school. You make that throw in JV football in high school. That's not a thing that you just need to learn. You should have already known it. Now, reading coverages and all that, yes, that does take time. And I feel like, yes, Miami did a bad job of just pushing him a little bit too far. But I can understand of like doing that 2 quarterback set of like, no matter who's our quarterback, whoever gives us the most chance to win in that certain scenario. So if our offense runs better against this defense against Tua, then we're going to do it mid-game. It doesn't matter, because that throws off the defense and they're not going to expect it. But in this is why I think they're good, and I think they're a winner for the season, is that they took chances, they did what they needed to do, and it just didn't work out for them. But they're still a young football team.
They're a winner for the future. I completely and 100% agree with your argument for the winner, that they have an absolute bright future. I just think that for this season, it sucks as like, I guess, like a fan of the NFL that they weren't in the playoffs. But it also, I just don't like the way how they handled the quarterback situation. But
they really didn't handle it well. They were my dark horse, and I feel really good about that pick. And they fell short of the playoffs, but I look at this AFC and I'm like, every one of those teams deserves to be in it. Like, they all played well.
It's crazy, huh? Yeah.
I mean, if they want to make a decision of like, hey, Cleveland, you don't have a head coach? All right, Miami, go ahead.
Yeah, for real. I would like that.
Because I think everybody just wants to see the Steelers out. Honestly, other than Steelers fans, I don't think anybody wants to see the Steelers win, because we're just tired of the Steelers.
Yeah.
So, speaking of teams that don't deserve to be in the playoffs, the New York Giants.
Oh.
So let's get into the conversation, because we all wanted to hear this.
Okay, I'm ready. I'll let you go first, though.
Well, I'll give you the argument of the Eagles.
Okay.
Because look, we both had the same win or losers, really. I'm just one of those people that just doesn't understand why the Giants are complaining so hard. And really, even if you're not a Giants fan, if you're making the argument that the Eagles are a disgrace to football and they tainted the game by tanking against the Washington football team on Sunday night, they took out Jalen Hurts and put in Nate Sudfeld, which you'll get into.
Yeah.
I get it. If the Giants want to get into the playoffs, they needed the Eagles to win. And we can turn it into, if the Cowboys would have won that football game against the Giants earlier in the day, the whole world would have fucking collapsed. Because
for sure.
Imagine Cowboys fans saying, "Oh my God, this is rigged. Oh my God, this is so unfair." I'm a Cowboys fan. I would have been like the same way and been like, win more football games. Don't have to worry about this. Don't rely on the Philadelphia Eagles, who don't even know what to do with their quarterback, Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, whatever. Doug Peterson might not have a job, and you want to rely on them? It's like relying on a monkey with a loaded gun not to shoot the gun. You really think that's a good idea to let someone else determine your fate? I get it. I get it. It, like, sometimes in the NFL, you need help. And in week 17, when you get the win, but you need that little help from another team, that's something else. But for your coach to go out there and say, this is so disrespectful to the game of football, and I am disappointed in Doug Peterson, I am disappointed in the Eagles organization, don't go 6-10 when you had an opportunity to go number 1 in this division for multiple weeks, and you don't win the division by your own hands. You don't win it because of your own control. Don't complain. If the Cowboys would have been in the same situation, Mike McCarthy would have gone out there and said, we are very disappointed in the Eagles organization. You really think that the Eagles, of all teams in your division that are rivals, are going to help you out?
Yeah.
They have nothing to do. It's week 17. They're out of the playoffs. What do they care about what the playoffs are going to look like for their division?
Yeah.
No one in the NFC East deserves to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But if you want to say who deserved it more, it's probably Washington. Washington was the most consistent team in that division. That's not saying much, though.
Yeah.
But when you are going 6-10 in a terrible division where you should have beaten the Cowboys earlier in the year, but you didn't. I think you lost to Washington. No, didn't they win? Did they win? They beat Washington both times. Did they beat the Eagles both times?
No. That was the game that Carson Wentz did win.
Oh, congratulations. So you lost to Carson Wentz. So now you're complaining?
Yeah.
You lost to the bad quarterback that they didn't even play? They didn't even want to play in the first place? They let Nate Sudfeld play? And you're complaining. Look, I get it. I completely understand where you're coming from. Like, this is really bad look for the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFL. That's really bad to put on primetime football, and they are tanking. And it's obvious that they're tanking because they don't care.
Yeah.
But you have no right to go out there and say, well, that's not fair to us. You're 6-10. Win more football games next time.
That argument is 100% invalid. Anybody who supports that argument, you're wrong. I don't know in what aspect do you think that is a fair argument. If you're talking about the moral side, okay, obviously yes. It's morally wrong. It's morally wrong.
It's terrible. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad to go out there. But if we're really gonna like crucify the Eagles, like I was saying before the podcast, if we want to crucify the Eagles, how about we look at Greg Williams and sue him for what he fucking did to the Jets?
Yeah. I mean, that argument is ridiculous. I'm not having it with that argument.
Because at that point, the people were looking at that game and said, oh, yeah, the Jets are trying to tank. They're trying to get Trevor Lawrence. You go, guys. But when the Eagles do it and they start affecting other teams that may be your team or not, oh, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. No, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs next year. They don't deserve a draft pick this year.
Yeah. So
that's not consistent.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. Win more games and you don't have to deal with this. Shut up. It's a dumb argument. Now, I'm going to go on the flip side with the Eagles. Like you said, you did the Giants, I'll do the Eagles. So, besides the fact that, like you said, this is horrifically bad. It looks so bad for the Eagles. I'm going to take it a step further. What Doug Peterson did on that game, it might have cost him his job.
100% I agree.
It might not be right away, but it costs him his job in the future. Like I said before the podcast, there was this argument that Max Kellerman would always make in the era where it was like, oh, Carson Wentz was like your guy, but Nick Foles was the guy that won you games and that got you the playoffs. So the locker room was divided, People wanted to play for Nick Foles, but people liked Carson Wentz. They didn't know what to do. The locker room was torn. That's nothing compared to this. Nothing. Before the game started, it was made aware that Doug Peterson wanted to evaluate Nick Sudfeld. Okay, that's great, dude.
Yeah.
That's great. Evaluate what you got. That's fine. That would have been a difference if the game was already out of hand and 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. No. You put in Nate Sudfeld with 10 minutes left in the third quarter, or like 6 minutes.
It was 10 minutes,
was 10
down
minutes.
by 3.
Yeah, so you put Nate Sudfeld in that scenario while Jalen Hurts was doing pretty damn well that game.
It was all right. It was not a fun game to watch before that.
You got to be kidding me, dude. You have to be kidding me. There is no way you do that and get away by saying, oh well, I wanted to evaluate Nick Sudfeld. No. This looks so bad on you. You are obviously tanking. Okay, so that's the main point, right? I'm going to get to the back point. The reason why I say that this probably lost Doug Peterson his job. There were multiple reports. There was video evidence of Jalen Hurts on the sideline. You can clearly see it in his lips. That's not right.
And he looks aggravated too.
It's not right. Look, there were reports that Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson's relationship was already fractured beyond repair, and he's going to ask for a trade. Good for him. Go find somewhere else. Maybe it'll revive your career. Fine. But now your rookie quarterback that looks like he might have a pretty good future there. Maybe. We'll see what happens these next coming years. Now even he's pissed off at you. And then to make it worse, you had reports coming out the next day that there were players that had to be held away from Doug Peterson. I said it before this podcast. What happens when a coach loses the locker room?
Well, from a personal experience of watching Jason Garrett completely lose the locker room in Dallas last year, it doesn't end well.
It's done. He's done. There's one thing in football. There's one thing in football that is for certain. There are things in football that it's basically a rule, an unspoken rule, an unwritten rule, I guess is the thing I'm trying to say. Once a coach loses the locker room, they're never getting it back. Never. You will not get that locker room back. And if you have players that don't want to play for you, if you have players that have a sense of bad animosity towards you, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
You're done. Why would 53 players that don't want to play for you? Why would superstars? Because the Eagles do have superstars. Why would those players want to play for you? Why would they want to give their all for you? They don't. You really think Fletcher Cox wants to go out next season? The man's already a veteran. He's going to retire soon. You really think he wants to lay out his body for you? No. You think Jalen Hurts that has a bright future wants to lay out his body for you? No. You think Miles Sanders wants to lay out his body for you? No. Absolutely not. So you're telling me that you thought this was a good decision the whole entire time and you're sticking by it. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to go as far to say what Dan Orlovsky said, because that's a little exaggerated in my opinion. He makes a good point, but it's exaggerated in my opinion. But in retrospect, Doug Peterson just probably lost his job. Like I said, it might not be right away, but it's going to be within the future. And it is an absolute travesty that some of these players are forced into the situation that they have to play for him because of rookie contracts and whatnot. So, honestly, what a joke.
I mean, just a few days before that game, the Eagles came out and said, Doug Peterson's fine. He's going to have a job, or he's going to be the head coach next year. That's fine, no matter what happens.
Howie Roseman has a lot to think about this offseason.
I mean, there's a lot to be done in Philly, because even I just thought about this. I'm like, that was probably the last game we'll ever see Zach Ertz.
Carson Wentz.
And Jason Kelsey, who is a guy that has come out in a press conference and said, winning's first. And he basically said, we're not going to tank. If we have a chance to win, we're going to win, or we're going to go for it. That was the complete opposite of what happened on Sunday night. And my thing about it is that, look, I'm kind of doubtful about Jalen Hurts. I'm not completely sold yet. And if you want to, I guess, put a stamp on the Jalen Hurts approval for Philadelphia fans, NFL fans, and including myself, What if he went out there and beat the Washington football team? Of course, the Giants fans would love that, but it would make me think like, oh, he beat the Washington football team, who has been the best defense in this division, especially with that defensive front. If he can go out there and beat them on Sunday Night Football last week of the season, where they're not trying to win for anything. They're just trying to gain some pride here because they're the only team going into Week 17 of the NFL without a chance to make the playoffs. Every other team in the NFC East, which shocks you because of how much the Cowboys are in it, considering how bad their season has been, and yet you're the ones left out. So to go out there and say Jalen Hurts is playing good, and we're in this football game, three points down, 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, would just pride and ego like tell you like we should just go for it? Like,
Yeah.
I've seen Nate Sudfeld. I've seen enough. And within that first drive, I was like, I think we can evaluate him as pretty bad. So why did it take you half of a game to evaluate Nate Sudfeld, including the fucking fumble? Like that fumble that Chase Young picked up and got it at like the 10-yard line, whatever. It's like, wouldn't that make you think like, oh, okay, this is pretty bad. Like, I don't think this is our guy. But in my opinion, it's like, I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts being the guy. So wouldn't you want a performance consistently against a good defense that you're going to see for many years to come? Wouldn't you want to see that for 60 minutes instead of just half a game?
Yeah.
That's my thing. But to do it on Sunday night, like,
It's just such a bad situation because like this also comes on the heels of literally the week prior, JJ Watt comes out and makes an incredible speech of just, look, he doesn't care that the Texans are 4 wins. That's all they got. If you don't want to come out and play, leave. You know, that's how every football team should be. So to come out the next week and do that,
and you're the coach,
and you're the head coach, JJ Watt is a player. You know, JJ Watt is a respected, amazing player, and I'm taking nothing away from him. But I'm just saying that on the status of, you know, like how you should perform and how you should act as a certain person in the NFL, a coach should, you know, by the book, have more respect and have more integrity than a player, you know, because he is the head coach. It's bad. It's just a bad look, man. And I just don't think that Doug Pearson will ever be able to recover from this. Look, I wouldn't say that it's, I would say that, you know, yeah, I guess I would say that it's almost 100% healed, but there's still some people that don't like Pete Carroll. But what happened with Pete Carroll in those playoffs, that he should have just given it to beast mode. Dude, you heard the reports. You saw the players. People were pissed off. They were upset at Pete Carroll for trying to make Russell Wilson the hero. It's been 7 years now. Okay. All right. It's been 7 years. It's been a while now, you know. Okay, whatever. The past is the past. But there's still some people. This isn't it. This is a whole, it's almost to a certain extent where you cannot even compare these.
No,
because
you can't.
This was a Super Bowl that, you want to make the quarterback the hero. Everybody does, whatever.
I honestly am not super against that. Like everyone would have expected Marshawn Lynch to get the ball at the 1 yard line. So fake him out, quick slant route. Like it makes sense to me on paper. It was just executed way too poorly. And Malcolm Butler like literally guessed that, and they practiced that from the very beginning of their season. So it's not like on you for doing that. At least you got to the Super Bowl, and you're not a dysfunctional organization like the Philadelphia Eagles. It was just a bad mistake.
But this is just something else, man.
This is just horrible.
This is a horrific, it's a travesty. Well,
but that gives no credit to the Giants fans for complaining.
Oh no, absolutely not. If you believe in the Giants argument, you're dumb. I'm sorry.
Because if the Cowboys would have been the team to contend for the playoffs, I would have said the exact same thing.
Don't have a horrific defense. Have better coaching. Come on now.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Win more games and stop being inconsistent. And then I saw a report today, or not a report, but like I saw a tweet by.
Was it the Andy Dalton tweet?
No, it was a reporter for the Dallas Cowboys.
He's like, Mosher?
It was just like, I'm still shocked that people think that the Cowboys underperformed this year. I'm like, excuse me, sir.
They did.
But the whole reason for getting Andy Dalton was just in case Dak Prescott went down, they'd be fine. Did you see Andy Dalton in that first half? It was some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen in my lifetime.
It was really bad.
So,
Yeah.
and then Everson Griffin, Dante Poe, that entire secondary, except for Trevon Diggs, Jalen Smith, Lane Vander. And you're telling me they're not underperforming?
Yeah.
In once again, a dysfunctional NFC East? They're the third best team in the NFC East. And
That's
you think that they're not underperforming? I don't get it. I don't get it. This entire NFC East doesn't make fucking sense. And then next year, they're all going to be winning records. They're all going to have a chance to make the playoffs. That's how it's going to be.
We'll under lose like this. Hey, Stephen A., what is Doug Peterson going to sound like when he loses his job soon? Spot on.
All because he wanted to evaluate Nate Sudfeld.
Spot on.
Sir, your one final thing, because we've had a very long episode, but I feel like it was needed.
Okay. I love this one final thing because I read it yesterday and it gave me so much joy. The Houston Texans have found their new general manager, and it is a Patriots executive. I forgot his name, and I feel bad for forgetting his name.
Oh my God, even I did.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna find it. We're not gonna be the.
Please find his name because I want to give him proper credit.
Nick Caserio.
Nick Caserio. Okay.
Now,
Nick.
I've heard some very mixed things about this.
So I have as well. However, this is the argument I'm going to make. Nick Caserio. Nicky, buddy, how are you?
Nicky.
Look, dude. I don't think that anybody has ever had to come in and literally rebuild a franchise as much as you probably have to right now. Because you are coming in on the heels of someone that literally should be arrested for what they did to this organization. It is an absolute travesty what the man who shall not be named did to this organization. Now look, you're coming in and you have a lot of work to do. However, to a certain extent, this could be on your side. This could be your benefit. You could come in as this breath of fresh air, all right? Start making good moves. I know this season might not be it because you don't have a first-round pick. Sorry.
And they also don't have a second-round pick.
Yeah.
I just saw that, and it said no first, no second, and they barely have any in the entire draft.
Yeah. So it's going to be hard.
That's shocking. Like, that's terrible.
However, take this season to maybe, possibly evaluate. Look what you could do in the future. Look what you could possibly do. If you could maybe get a developmental player that you can bring in, get a good head coach, right? Start with a good head coach. Start with maybe some other coaches as well. God, for heaven's sake, the defenses are horrific. Start with bringing in a new head coach, a new defensive coordinator, some new defensive coaches, right? You have one of the brightest quarterbacks in the league. Dude, it's there. Just, it's going to take some time. But the fact is that this guy, Nick Caserio, can do. He is in a position that is such, I guess you could say he is on such thin ice right now, but it's not his fault. But if he does the right choices, if he becomes a player's general manager, that people love him, they're on his side, they're willing to do what he can bring to the table. This could be a culture change for the Texans. And I think it was J.J. Watt specifically that said, J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson, that said that, hey, it's time for a culture change in Houston. It's time. And I 100% agree because the culture there has just been nothing but bad and losing because of what that man did. So my one final thing, Nick Caserio, welcome to the Houston Texans. And I wish the best of luck for you because I really, really hope you can turn around this franchise. And I think everybody in the NFL can agree that you can turn around this franchise, hopefully.
Well, it can't get any worse. Like
No.
you literally had the worst example of a GM right before you.
Yeah.
You can't go more Bill O'Brien than Bill O'Brien.
literally the only thing that you could possibly do to make it worse is trading away Deshaun.
Yeah, if Deshaun's out of there, this organization is out of the question. Like they should not even. They should go to the XFL. Like
Yeah,
I mean, they're not an NFL team.
So Mr. Coletti.
Who's Coletti? It's Casario.
Casario? I think it's a Coletti. I don't
No.
freaking know. I probably heard you wrong, but it's Casario, I guess. I'm sorry, I've been calling you wrong.
I don't know how to feel about it. I really don't know because, like, I see Patriots accounts and Patriots fans saying, like, this guy has been the director of players personnel since 2008 and was, like, one of the highest ranked personnel in the organization for the Patriots. And then, like, you think about it, it's like, well, what's one thing that the Patriots lack in, which is, like, star talent? Like, I mean, superstars. Like, he wasn't in charge of Tom Brady. He wasn't in charge of, like, Julian Edelman, really. Like, there's good examples, but there's also a lot of years where it's bad examples, including this year. Like, you think about it, it's like they have no wide receivers that can really take over a game. They had no defensive linemen that can take over a game. But they did pretty well in the draft last year, so I'm kind of just, like, back and forth about this. But I always think, are you better than Bill O'Brien? Yes, then you will have a job in the NFL. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
My one final thing is something that I'm also kind of going back and forth because I don't see Urban Meyer becoming an NFL coach. In my mind, I think he's done with coaching. I think he loves his job as a reporter and an analyst for Fox. And me being a Buckeyes fan, watching those last few years at Ohio State where he had a lot of health issues, like the migraines were a terrible thing to where, I mean, his health was a problem and he had to miss a few games. The job was just getting too much. There's a lot of pressure with that. And he's had a lot of high pressure coaching positions, Florida, Ohio State, and now you want to take a job of an organization, pick your poison, of multiple organizations that need to rebuild and they have actually a good promising future with a good head coach in place. So for me, it's like, do you really want to take that job when you love your job right now as an analyst? You can see your family more often and you're getting a little bit older. Your health is a big issue. Do you really want to take that responsibility? And I don't see Urban Meyer doing it.
It's a fair argument.
It's a fair argument. But if you want to do it, this is the year to fucking do it.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking at right now 5 or 6 head coaching vacancies, and I think more than half of them are stellar positions for a head coach like Urban Meyer.
Yes.
You can go to Los Angeles with the Chargers. You know you have your quarterback in Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
If he's half...
Fill everything out.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like their roster was destined for greatness if it wasn't for Phillip Rivers and his terrible fucking quarterback play. Like, he knows how to make mistakes, and that's why the Colts are not going to win the Super Bowl. But I felt like their roster was just some of the most talented around the league. Mm-hmm. Anthony Lynn's gone. Phillip Rivers is gone. They have Justin Herbert, and I think if he plays half the level that he played this year, I still think he's a tremendous quarterback. But you have just guys coming back from injury like Derwin James.
Oh, stud.
You'll get Nick Bosa healthy.
Stud. Yeah.
And you just feel good about your team going forward. So if Urban Meyer wants to go in there and be a sexy pick for a head coach, I think he can take the NFL by storm. So that's a good spot. I think even better, which would be a better story for the NFL, is Jacksonville.
Of course, 100%.
Because you're going to get Trevor Lawrence, no doubt in my mind. You will love Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that is the best quarterback that you'll ever have if you're Urban Meyer. You've seen Tim Tebow. You've seen J.T. Barrett, Cardale Jones, Dwayne Haskins even. Like, you've seen these guys, and you're like, wow, these are really good quarterbacks, but they're not Trevor Lawrence.
No.
You have James Robinson. You feel good about your offense, DJ Chark, and you are just a good enough head coach to get something going on that defense. And you have plenty of assistants, coordinators that want to come to you. You just have your choice of any coordinator. They will want to go to Jacksonville. So that's sexy as well. fuck it, man. Even the Jets sounds like a good spot right now.
Yeah.
Because think about it. If they want to stick with Sam Darnold, you'll get progression in him with Urban Meyer, who does really well with some subpar quarterbacks, and he will make Sam Darnold better. They're not all that bad because they beat the Browns, they beat the Rams. They actually want to play. Like, they want to play hard. And I feel like those games where they actually played really well shows that the Jets aren't a lost cause. It was Adam Gase that was ultimately going to be the deciding factor. And if they don't have a head coach, then you're not going to win football games. With Urban Meyer, you're going to win some more football games. I don't know how far you'll go, but it's good. And once again, personnel, coordinators, assistants, they will want to come to you because the Jets aren't all that bad. But if you want to draft Justin Fields, well, guess what? You have that tie with Ryan Day at Ohio State. You can learn a lot from Ryan Day about what makes Justin Fields a great quarterback. And Ohio State Buckeyes together, they can't be beat. I love that if you're Urban Meyer and Justin Fields. So if they go that route, I'm all for it. And I'm like, even Detroit sounds okay.
Yeah.
They have some good... Do they have good cap space? I don't know. I can't remember the number. But I think Detroit has a good amount of cap space. It was the Falcons that don't have a lot. I could be flipping them around. I don't know. I feel like Falcons are the worst to think about because like we just talked about the idea of like Calvin Ridley and Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase being there, but Matt Ryan's getting old. They don't have a running back in Todd Gurley, and that defense is old. They're really old. Yeah. And like Raheem Morris did a okay job, but they are the most inconsistent football team in football right now. I truly believe so because some games they play really hard, some games they just give up. Like, they played really hard against the Chiefs, and then it's like they give up 44 to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So, right now, Falcons are kind of last on my list. Like, Detroit, maybe you need to fix up the quarterback position because Matthew Stafford's getting old, but I do like a lot of their talent on offense, and they're kind of young on defense. I just think Matt Patricia just didn't do a good enough job, which sucks, but Urban Meyer can work there. I think something can work there. But these top three jobs, Jacksonville, New York, in Los Angeles. If you want to get back to the NFL, if you want to be a head coach in the NFL, Urban, now's your time. Like, this is your opportunity because these are jobs that anybody would take right now.
Yeah.
So
I think the Jacksonville is the best one personally.
I just love it. I love it. I think in 5 years, when we look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and if they're not a winning team, I don't think they're going to win championships. That's not my expectation. But if they can make playoffs in a division that is kind of iffy, considering like who you want to pick every year to win it, I'll be surprised if they're not a winning football team.
Yeah.
Just get a competent coach, whether that's Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, or Eric Bieniemy if he wants to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there's plenty of opportunity and options for the Jacksonville Jaguars to get a good head coach. It'll shock me if they don't get a good head coach.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. That was a very long episode, sir.
Yeah.
I think we're reaching 2 hours, but...
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, I think so. I got to look back at the first recording before I got the nosebleed and almost died. But, yeah. Well, winners and losers last week of the regular season. We had to go out.
Call it a mega episode or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, first one of the year. So, yeah, so that'll do it for winners and losers for the regular season of the NFL. We're going to do the worst moments of 2020. We'll just say it one more time. You know, keep that in mind for one last time of 2020. That'll come out later in the week. We'll do a preview for the NFL playoffs, the Super Wild Card Wild Weekend.
I love it. I like the way they just
yeah. We'll see Kevin again this week. Hopefully we'll have our special guest later on this week as well. But that'll do it for episode 201 of the Bubblehead Sports Podcast. Thank you again for watching and listening. We'll see you next time on the podcast.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now, would you lose if it been a better draft pick? And do you cuss when your team get their ass kicked?